Mabuhay, Kamustika, welcome. How are you? This is Bob from Love Beyond the Sea. Good to have you here tonight. I'm doing a live stream. We're starting at 9:17 p.m. I've started at all kinds of different times. And so we're going to try something else. I don't usually like to do it this late, but it's kind of time to put out a video, upload or a live stream. So I wanted to do that here today. I don't know if you guys are getting notifications, but if you did, then I guess you can probably tell for the last half hour I was planning on doing a live stream tonight. And I've got my phone here to see the comments because, well, this is all kind of messed up. I can't see the comments here at the same time I can see myself, and I have to switch away. And so I'm going to need to um, look at my phone here. There we go. Let's go over here. And that should allow me to see the comments. What we want to talk about today, I'm calling it, is a dad bod the new six pack? Things that women are attracted to. Love Beyond the Sea is a biblical pro marriage channel designed to help men um, want to continue to get married. I think it's just natural that we want to be married, but in society today, when you hear so much negative talk about marriage, and then there's the MGTOW movement, some people have gone black pill and have given up, and well, that's just not good, especially when some people are very young and they've kind of given up, it seems, that's what they say, on marriage. That's not a good idea. And I can say that because, well, that's my belief that biblically marriage is the best for everybody. I've made probably 740 videos here on Love Beyond the Sea. Most of them are, teaching, talking about something I've learned in marriage in almost 6 years now to my wife. Now, I also have about 115 podcasts up on Casting Beyond the Sea. It's on Podbean and other podcast channels. Casting Beyond the Sea, casting your net elsewhere from your current country. I went to the Philippines. That was in 2015. And it was pretty simple after a tremendously long 30-year period of being alone. Hi, Rodney, full circle. Glad to have you here. I have to see your comments, Rodney, on my phone. Yeah, I don't even see them here on my computer. So I guess that part is basically worthless. But I can see them here on my phone. Otherwise, I wouldn't have any idea. So good to see you back tonight, Rodney. Doing a very late one. Maybe it works out better for you. I am kind of red. I just swallowed my last group of vitamins, and each swallow has some niacin in it. And so I know for a while it's going to make me red. I can feel it all over. Now, I have been out in the sun a lot today, so I am red, but I think I'm going to get redder than usual because of the niacin. I actually like the kind that gives you the niacin flush. You can get it where they do something to prevent the flush. I don't know. I don't mind it. You're kind of itchy, but and the niacin is just as good, effective with or without the flush. Reason I'm taking it is that it does help me lower my cholesterol, which has been getting higher. Along with, I take 4,000 milligrams of fish oil, and both of those are supposed to help, and they have in the past. Yeah, Rodney, we're going to talk about some of the things that women say and have probably maintained for a while that they are attracted to in guys. And, there are people out there that are not married. Maybe they're not even dating. Maybe they're very confused about what they have to do to find somebody, or if anybody would be interested in them. And I think it's easier in a place like the Philippines, where I found my wife. Otherwise, I wouldn't have found her in only 54 days. We were married in 54 days. I flew down to the Philippines in 2015 for the purpose of marrying her. Meeting her, yes, that too, for the first time. And we already had our petition started. Our spousal petition had some paperwork started, doing as much as I could before I even went. And so, yeah, May 10th is going to be 6 years, and being alone is not good. It's not natural. It's just, people were not, with few exceptions, were not put on this earth to be without a helper. I'm talking about men who need the wife as a helper. I mean, one of the main ways is in raising children, but there's also other ways. My wife helps me as my companion. Um, she's an amazing woman. And in fact, tomorrow, what is tomorrow already? Saturday? Where does the time go? We'd like to go to State Park and spend some time out there. It's going to be in the 80s, might be windy, hopefully not too bad, but just to get away, about 20 miles, 20 minutes or so drive. And I'd like to stay overnight. She's pretty thrifty. She might not want to, but kind of like to sleep in a different bed once in a while, and different environment. So I think that's something I'd like to do with my companion. So over here, normally it's all on the same screen, and I can see people's comments, and I can see these notes. But for some reason, unlike the last time, when I went in here, it's just all separated. But I have at the top there, if you can see it, off to what used to be the right side of the screen, I have the web address there. It's from something called thelist.com. I'll be going through those. My website, Mr. E put that together for me, did a great job. It's called lvbts.com. And then I listed in that third section there all of the things we're talking about tonight. And as I do that, please think about something that's not on the list, or if you feel strongly about something that is on the list and you can relate to it, let me know and say, well, I agree with that one, and here's why. And at the end there, I threw on 1, 2, 3, 4 of them that I didn't see in the list, and I wanted to talk about those as well. So, Rodney and anybody else here tonight, I'm going to get started. It's kind of late, but who knows? Maybe this ends up being a good time to do a live stream. A little bit later for me, but here we go. Hopefully we'll work out. So tonight's live stream and is an effort to help men from all over, around the world. I mean, be attractive to women. There's some things they should know, some things they probably disagree with. I want us to talk about what women actually find attractive in a man, what they say. Now, while I have usually tried to be, healthy and strong and take care of myself, as I prepared for this tonight, I didn't see that in the list. And I just said, the things I'm talking about are over there in the chat box. I didn't see that, but it's still a good thing to take care of your body. After all, it's the only one you have. You probably know that women tend to not like a vain person, someone who's really into his body, checking the mirror a lot. I want to make marriage great again. I know it's been slipping, but not because marriage has been slipping. People have not been treating each other properly. But I need people to buy in to make marriage great again. I know for a fact there are men in the world who really want to be married and need to, who have lost confidence that they can actually find someone. However, I think part of that is a limited view of where to look. It's not every day you think about looking to another country, but more and more men, from what I understand, are doing that. GWYW, if you've seen that here, that stands for Go Where You're Wanted. I guess after 30 years, kind of had to conclude I wasn't going to get married in the United States, in Nebraska. I didn't want to go too far out there because I wanted to spend a lot of time with this person. Little did I know that you can actually get to know somebody pretty good on webcams if you do it enough and you focus on each other. I went way out of my comfort zone. In 2015, by marrying a woman from the Philippines, just short of 10,000 miles. How do you like that? We're still married and continuing to grow closer and understand each other better. Got married in less than 8 weeks. Ridiculous? Foolish? Well, if there's something that she finds attractive about you, and the more things, the better, the more likely she is to accept your marriage proposal. Women can't marry anybody if they don't ask her to marry them. Have you ever heard that people say, well, you can't get a job if you don't apply for it? A lot of people complaining, well, so-and-so got that job, and so-and-so got that job. And did you apply for that job? No. Well, you have to apply for the job to have a chance, and you have to propose to a woman after you pursue her to have a chance. In fact, speaking about attractive qualities, I think pursuing a woman with patience and trying to understand her, showing her that, it's important for you to get married, you're looking for a quality spouse. I think that's a very attractive trait, don't you think? I know I do. There will always be fence sitters and those on the outside looking in who will call you a simp just because you have and want to have qualities that appeal to the opposite sex. You have to ignore those people. Let them be. If they're not open to marriage, they are a lost cause. In this live stream tonight, I want to chat with you and see your comments about what attracts a man to a woman. Is it the often expressed six-pack abs, six-figure salary, 6 feet tall? Well, I only was batting 1 out of 3 on that, and I was alone for a very long time. But I think that's a cop-out. Tonight I'm going to read from an article I put there at the top of the chat section, and you can see for yourself what women say about what is attractive to them in a man. Subscribe to Love Beyond the Sea. I always forget to say that. This channel is an anomaly in YouTube because it actually touts marriage as a great thing, something to be pursued. The Bible says whoever finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor of the Lord. That's a strong statement. I understand that I am counterculture, and if you like a little societal rebelliousness, maybe you'll want to subscribe here and tell your friends. I'm okay with rejection. After all, I didn't get married until I was 53. So as a warm-up tonight, here are some comments from women before we dive into it about what they do not find attractive. You can see this at muscleandfitness.com, and it's from the perspective of the woman, and that is also linked there. I don't want to click away, but it's linked there too. You should be able to see that because what I see, I'm not seeing what you're seeing, but that should be there. So some of these probably don't surprise you. Douchiness. You don't need to upstage everyone or talk nonstop, especially about yourself. Heather A. So they're real people. Another one, if they're conceited, I'll move on quickly. I told you that would be on there. Eliza J. When a man is a complete D-bag, too self-absorbed, and too self-centered to put you, his girlfriend, before himself, a man who puts down women to make himself feel better, or feels like one woman isn't enough. A man who isn't honest and doesn't communicate well. Lucia has a lot of those. Now, I've always said, the husband should put his wife above himself because the Bible says so. I don't know necessarily about your girlfriend. I don't think you owe each other a whole lot until you are husband and wife. Another woman mentions here a complainer. I've heard that one myself. Can't think of anything I find more unattractive than someone who complains, especially when they do nothing to fix the situation they are complaining about. Keep it to yourself, and if it's something that bothers you that much, do something about it. Everyone is given the same life. You have nothing to complain about. Fix what's bothering you, says Ariana I. Another one says laziness. and not in the hang out and watch Netflix sense, but more in the okay with getting by on the bare minimum amount of effort way. Maria S. Another one says, men who are self-centered are so unattractive. There's nothing wrong with being confident and talking about yourself, but if you dominate, you see, the entire conversation, make it all about you, no one is going to stick around. Victoria C. Now, before I move on, I had the thought, when you're trying to get to know somebody, you don't know each other, when you are talking, that does kind of loosen you up as you're talking, and you're talking about things you're familiar with, and that's a good thing. You just have to be careful not to get carried away, and the time passes, and then 10, 15 minutes have gone by, and you really haven't left time for the other person to respond. Another one says, cockiness. Anyone who thinks they're better than anyone else or seems entitled is unattractive and immediately loses my respect. Alyssa D. Someone else says, bravado. I can ascertain for myself if you are a great guy. I don't need you to tell me, says Noel. Another one, I cannot stand when guys have an air of entitlement about them. I don't care how good looking some people think you are, where you're from, or how much money you may have. People are people, and they should all be treated the same regardless. Acting like a dick won't get you anywhere in life or with me. Sam. Another person, when they feel like they can just touch you, like they are physically entitled. If someone is all over me and I'm clearly not into it, it's so uncomfortable and obnoxious. It's like an ownership thing. And when you tell someone you don't want to see them again and they don't take no for an answer, it's not romantic, it's harassment. Anne. Another one says here, no drive or passion, lazy and cheap men. Esther. And another few here, if a man has poor hygiene, it is by far the most unattractive trait you can have. Also, being irresponsible is a huge turnoff. Michelle. Then there is when a man is cheap and undependable in a relationship, it's not reassuring. Gabrielle. Another one says disrespectful men who don't listen, guys who care more about themselves than others, guys who are rude. Also on that list there, an immature man who lacks confidence. So again, you can see the lacking confidence. I used to think there's a really fine line, but I think what they're saying is it's a pretty clear thing between, having confidence and being self-absorbed. Let me know what you think about that confidence issue. And one more, being a slob. I remember one time a guy was hooking up with ordered drunk pizza, they say, and proceeded to eat it out of the box while lying in bed. They say I was drunk too, but still disgusted. Well, let's go to the list here, and please leave comments as we go. I'm talking about traits that women find attractive, and I'd like to think that you are able to have some of these qualities. I mean, as I go through this, of course, I will let you know what I think about that. And this is from that link from list.com. Have you ever wondered why you love the person you love? Science points to a ton of psychological reasons that are responsible for making people fall in love with one another, and some of them are downright bizarre. For one, both men and women are really into hand gestures. A study in 2016 proved that people were at least twice as likely to want a second date when their partner moved their hands and arms frequently during their first encounter. Now, why would that be? You may have also heard that we are often attracted to people who look like our opposite sex parent, and a study from 2002 confirms it. The article says we're a weird species, that much is true, but it even gets stranger when you delve into what each sex finds attractive. Spoiler alert, women as a rule have vastly different tastes than men. Need proof? From the article, here are some of the most surprising traits females find attractive. As far as the hand gestures, I think if you're just sitting there like this, and your body, you don't really have body movements, or hand gestures, probably that gives the impression that you're just not engaged in the conversation, or you find it boring, or maybe you've got other things on your mind. Kind of my thoughts about that. So here we go with the list. Move over, bad boys. Kindness is where it's at. Kindness. We're not here to say bad boys are unattractive. Their appeal can certainly not be contested. But is the rebel without a cause persona really what women want? As it turns out, no. Men's Health used 2 surveys to collect data from over 1,000 American women aged 21 to 54, all in an effort to figure out just what it is as women, we are attracted to. This is from a woman. While the first 2 traits women found attractive, faithfulness and dependability, are not very shocking, the third most selected trait is perhaps a different story. Kindness is a turn on, according to 67% of the women who participated in the surveys. Why? Because kindness inspires confidence, Men's Health explained. Kindness inspires confidence. It may have been cute to tease us in middle school and feign toughness in high school, but it seems that gets old pretty fast. So, fellas, if you're reading this, just be kind. And I certainly approve of kindness. It's a biblical trait or behavior to have that's just going to be good for you. Another thing on the list here is called the wedding ring effect. The wedding ring effect. We as women may have a soft spot for kind men, but that doesn't mean every trait we find attractive is as admirable. The Department of Psychology at Oklahoma State University published some interesting findings after performing a study about mate poaching. According to Independent, a whopping 90% of single women who participated in the study displayed interest in a man when they were under the impression that he was in a relationship. Contrast that to a mere 59% of single women who found the same man attractive when informed he was single. And wow, that's a big deal. This phenomenon is often called the wedding ring effect. Wonder if I'm attracting different people out there with my wedding ring on the wrong hand. Another study has, they probably can't even see it, another study has contested these findings, but a report published in 2018 showed that women do indeed appear to copy other women's preferences for male attractiveness. Why? Science doesn't seem to have the answer to that nailed down just yet, but Independent reported that it could be because a married man is, quote, perceived to be more kind, faithful, and a better father, end of quote. And you know how we feel about kindness. Please leave comments here. I know we only have a couple people here, but what can I say? I try to have a topic where people can actually become engaged to it and talk about it. It's not a harmful, threatening topic. It's just I'd like to know what people think about these things, and maybe people have to watch the upload to see that. But anyway, these are some very good qualities here. Another one here on the list: fatherliness. Fatherliness steals hearts. If married or otherwise attached men are more attractive to women because they seem like they'd make better fathers, if married or otherwise attached men, I should say, are more attractive to women because they seem like they'd make better fathers, it makes sense that we'd also be into the trait of fatherliness. According to the polls conducted by Men's Health, this quality was actually ranked as the 5th most desired character trait. In facts and figures, this means that 51% of the women surveyed found the ability to be a good dad attractive. This trait doesn't mean a man has to have kids currently, just that he has the potential to be a good dad. Of course, already having kids wouldn't exactly be a turnoff for many women. New York Post reported that one of the latest trends in romance novels, didn't know they still had those, is none other than single fathers. Lilia Canna, head of international and series publishing at Harlequin, Australia, explained that single dads have a nurturing and caring element that is very appealing. A study by Zusk via New York Post, is it Zusk? Zusk, I don't know, echoed this sentiment with stats, citing parenting skills and emotional security as their reasoning. Parenting skills and emotional security as their reasoning. 83% of women said they would be interested in dating a single father. This next one, even the dad bod is hot. Even the dad bod is hot. In a surprising twist, women aren't just into single dads or men with the potential to be good fathers. Even their dad bod builds are titillating. Yes, titillating. Meatheads be damned. Women are more into a squishy middle than tree trunk limbs. In a comprehensive study, ironically commissioned by Planet Fitness, more than 2,000 Americans over the age of 18 were asked about this combination of weight and attraction. Believe it or not, 7 out of the 10 women found anywhere from a few pounds to 20 extra pounds attractive on members of the opposite sex. If you're not sure what makes a little extra weight so irresistible, it may have to do with perceived self-esteem. In fact, 78% of women felt men with some additional pounds were confident in their own skin. Just about half of the women surveyed felt that dad bods are the new six-pack. The dad bod is even more desirable to moms. 83% of women with children said they'd feel proud to be married to a man with a dad bod. And I do not have a picture here, I don't think, of a dad bod. Well, there's a guy there. He looks just fine. That's all well and good, but let's draw the line at dad jeans. Okay, ladies, they say. Now, the next one is the art of storytelling. We all know someone who just drones on and on while telling a story and never quite gets to the point. Now imagine, if you will, being in a committed relationship and living with that person. Yikes, you've probably never thought of the art of storytelling as an attractive quality, but you've definitely noticed how unpleasant bad storytelling can be. A 3-part study conducted in 2016 examined how a person's storytelling ability influences attractiveness. The participants in the first study were told about their potential partner's storytelling ability, while the participants in the second study read either a poorly or well-told story under the guise that it was written by their potential partner. As a result, women's attractiveness assessments of men as a long-term date increased for good storytellers. The reason for these results might be found in the third study. That one highlighted that the art of storytelling seems to reflect a higher social status, the ability to influence other people, and even an ability to attain more resources. That might explain why participants in the first 2 studies had the reaction they did. Now, speaking about earning potential, as I try not to sneeze, you know, this one was going to be on the list. Earning potential. And they say, size matters. Well, as far as it relates to a man's nest egg. Before you get to thinking that's some sort of lewd euphemism, we'll explain. When polled by Men's Health, 1 in 5 women cited a man's career successes as one of the top practical skills a partner could possess. There's no doubt about it, a man's earning potential is something many women find attractive. Weighing a man's ability to be a good provider so heavily may seem a bit stereotypical and even archaic, but in most households in the United States, men are still the higher earners, and whether it's cause or effect, Americans, both men and women, continue to place a higher value on a man's earning potential. A survey by the Pew Research Center found nearly 7 in 10 adults claim it is very important for a man to be able to support a family financially to be a good husband or partner. And this is just me adding here, that doesn't mean that he has to be, independently wealthy. Humor still reigns supreme. Finding a partner who can make you laugh is undoubtedly significant to many. But with all the other traits women are looking for in a potential partner, does humor get crowded out or thought of as less important? They say no, it's still very much an attractive quality. And I can see why. One study via Psychology Today found that women were 3 times more likely to hand off their phone numbers to a man who told jokes compared to a man who didn't. The funny man was also thought to not only be more attractive, but also more sociable, smarter, and of course, funnier. Another study of 200 female and 200 male university students further found that humor is often viewed as an indicator of intelligence and creativity. As with many of the traits women find attractive, the reason for finding humor desirable in a member of the opposite sex involves more than just needing a good laugh. Now, the next one here is bad eyesight. They say bad eyesight is irresistible. If you were to briefly look back at your dating history, would you be able to recall any exes who wore glasses? For a long time, glasses were, just a part of the nerd uniform, but times have changed. Being called a nerd is as good as a compliment. Nerdom has securely cemented itself into mainstream. It's even an aesthetic, and as some could argue, a culture. You could say that glasses are still a necessary part of the uniform and sometimes even the most attractive part. I think they said even blue glasses were the very most attractive in a man, but you'd have to take a look at the article to know that for sure. A study conducted in 2011 experimented with full rim and rimless glasses and their effects on perception. It was discovered that rimless glasses increased perceived trustworthiness and did not cause a decrease in attractiveness. While certain styles of glasses can have a negative effect on a person's attractiveness, there are also many positives, like an increase in perceived intelligence. Now, if I didn't do some things to my glasses, it'd be like having Coke bottles on a frame. So we do have to do something like that so they don't look unappealing. And as we move on through these things here, looks like we're not going to have any comments about this. The sex appeal of dog ownership. Today is the day you start viewing a dog ownership as sexy, poop bags and all. If you've ever caught yourself making googly eyes at a man taking his dog for a jog, there's a chance you wouldn't have given him a second thought had the pooch not been in the picture. Now I know why I never got married for 30 years. I didn't have a dog. A study published in the Journal of Evolutionary Psychology found that dog ownership increases male attractiveness. While science has yet to prove exactly why this is the case, it could be attributed to a variety of reasons. For one, dog ownership can prove a man's ability to be a good provider since he's obviously able to care for the canine's needs. Dog ownership is also an inherently dominant act, and dominance in men may be attractive. Dog ownership may even demonstrate a man's empathy and the ability to enter into an emotional commitment. Who knew that man's best friend could also be such a great wingman? And then they mention altruism. They say altruism is so hot right now. Altruism, or acting with an unselfish regard for others, as Psychology Today describes it, is quite the magical trait. It literally has the ability to transform a less attractive man into someone more desirable right before your eyes. In a study conducted in 2016, women were shown photographs of men with varied appearances. Some conventionally attractive, some not so much, and a description of each man either behaving altruistically or not. It's not surprising that the men who were both altruistic and attractive took the cake for most desirable partner. But here's what is definitely surprising. Men who were just altruistic were rated more desirable than men who were just attractive. Men who were just altruistic were rated more desirable than men who were just attractive. Men who weren't very attractive were also considered more desirable partners when they displayed altruistic characteristics, especially as it concerns long-term relationships. The science is crystal clear on this one. Altruism trumps attractiveness. And if we're being honest, shouldn't it really? Now, I agree with that one. Good evening, Parabiology 101. Glad you're still up tonight here. We're almost done here, about ready to wrap this up, talking about some more qualities that women find attractive so men can work on these things if they're still looking for someone. Often if things have not worked out, there's a reason why, and often it's behavioral. And so I think this list should be helpful. As far as altruism, I think when you marry, let's say you marry a Filipina, somebody from the Philippines, or any woman from a country that tends to be a poor country, um, being one who looks out for her family is altruistic, and it's very appealing for her to know that she marries a man that didn't just marry her for her body, but he really cares about her family, and not just her family, but her. By now, almost 6 years into our marriage, my wife knows how I feel about her and how I feel about her family. I want to help. I don't want to go overboard to the point where there is absolute reliance on us, but I want them to know that we care, and I have to show that somehow, and support, my wife wanting to work and send some of her money over there. Many of our plans have been listed in the videos before. So I agree that that quality there is very good. Well, no problem, parabiology. I started this late just to see if other people who just can't be on there at 5 or 6 or maybe 7 when I usually do one, maybe would be around at 9 o'clock. And well, that's not really gone as well, but some live streams just don't work out. Um, Unfortunately. Now, the last one on the list here from the article is called The Subtle Sexiness of Stubble. It was once thought that women would view a man's facial hair as attractive or unattractive based on where she was in her menstrual cycle. Yeah, science can be a bit cringy at times, they say. In a study in 2013, it called and proved BS, but did find women do have a preference for facial hair. It just doesn't make a difference whether they are ovulating or not. Women who participated in the updated study were shown photographs of men who were either clean shaven, lightly stubbled, heavily stubbled, or fully bearded. Men with a little bit of stubble and those who were clean shaven were viewed as the least attractive groups. Men with full beards and men with a decent amount of stubble were neck and neck for most attractive, as I comb my face here as we near the end of this live stream. Further, both men and women thought full beards matched best with parenting ability and were perceived as better fathers who could protect and invest in offspring. Just facial hair. These men were also thought to represent healthiness. Also, the more facial hair a man had, the more masculine he was considered. It seems like no shave November may just have to extend into the rest of the year. Now, that's the list there. I've got some other qualities I listed over here that I want to talk about. Um, as far as the facial hair, in the Philippines, you don't see a lot of facial hair there, and the guys and the women I talked to, including my wife, did not like facial hair, and I didn't have. I did have a beard at the time, and everybody wanted me to shave it, including my wife, who I ended up marrying. She was just one of 4 or 5 women I was talking to at the time. None of them really liked the facial hair. So I surprised her one day. I didn't tell her I was going to do it. I just shaved it, surprised her, and didn't have it when I went out to marry her and meet her. Then later on, she says she wants me to grow a beard after she's here in America for a while. So I did. Then she wanted me to shave it off. And she wanted me to grow it again and then shave it off. finally I decided, look, I'm not going to shave it off. I don't want to keep going back and forth. So I decided to keep it. And she actually prefers that I have facial hair. Now, she says I look younger. I don't know if I do or not. I prefer the facial hair. I just wish you never had to cut it or anything, but um, and I also wish it looked different. But there's always imperfections in us, and some people have like a perfect beard. And it's like, wow, I wish I could do that. But well, some people can hardly grow one, or it's too patchy, and you just try to do the best you can. But yeah, it seems to me, according to this article by women, that they like facial hair. It doesn't mean you have to go out there and grow a beard. Um, like anything, and I'll mention that here in my next item, kind of depends on how you make it look. I added to this list basic grooming, which would go for your hair, I suppose your fingernails, toenails if you're wearing sandals, facial hair, and so on. And I think that also is something that women notice and tend to like. Like if you got always have dirt in your fingernails or something, that's probably going to be a turn off to them, like it or not. So I think good grooming is a good thing for a guy, and that includes, well, showering, of course. I think even using good cologne, aftershave, underarm, deodorant, things like that. And then I just added forgiveness because, if a woman is going to be in a relationship with somebody for a long, long time, um, she's going to have to get the idea that he can be forgiving. And you'll get plenty of experience in that in a relationship, especially marriage. And you got to go through some times where you you have a spat, you have these arguments, and we have them, had a lot of them in 6 years, of course, but we have to learn, to get over them. And we have to learn that we are going to get over them. We're not going to hold grudges. We just apologize, hopefully explain why we were so annoyed or upset, and, watch our words, you know, just basically be apologetic and forgiving. I think that's a very attractive quality to a woman in a man, and so is encouragement. I mean, the person that's the male that's conceited and self-centered, like we talked about at the start of this live stream, they don't like that. And that person is probably not going to be very encouraging. But if you can be encouraging, I think that's a very attractive quality to a woman. And then this last one here is serious about his job. Is serious about his job. Now I just lost everything here. Okay. At least now, thank you for the thumbs up, by the way. I hadn't seen a way to end the stream until here. But if somebody's serious about his job, it doesn't mean that he has to be making a lot of money. Now, he has to, obviously, a woman is designed to look for somebody that can provide for him. And Filipina, if you marry a Filipina, I just recommend getting married, period. But if you marry a woman from the Philippines and she comes to your country, she's probably going to want to work. And that's just the way it is. So, and if you're in the Philippines, well, who knows? I mean, it depends on your situation. You'll need a certain amount of money to live. But, if you're not retired yet, she should be able to know that you're passionate about your work, whether you're into lawn service or plumbing or fixing something, or you work in a factory, blue collar job, white collar job. Women don't like complainers. Nobody does. But if the guy is passionate about what he does, I think that's an attractive quality to a woman. So, any comments here, or I'm going to be headed off and get this uploaded and get on to other things. Um, I thought this was a good topic to have something to actually talk about, which many live streams don't. So I don't know. Um, I appreciate the few people that were here, and Glenn Pendleton is here. Um, Thank you, Glenn, for jumping in here late. I started the live stream late just because I had a bunch of things to do, and I usually don't start it at 9 o'clock. But thank you for your comment. Glenn says, yes, I think women like to follow a man with a sense of purpose. And that's a that's a different quality that ties into his job. If he sees his job as not just some 9 to 5, but part of a greater plan to provide for her as his wife, vacations, and just he's able to work and save. He doesn't have to, make 6 figures, but he tries to save for the future. He doesn't just spend it all because he's got a plan for his work and what he does. He could be a maintenance person or a plumber or whatever, but he just he's serious about it. And in general, he has a sense of purpose, like Glenn said. Um, in other words, if he has a sense of purpose, she's probably going to see that man as having some leadership ability, and she will be attracted to somebody that has a sense of purpose, has his life together, or his act together, and that's a good one there, Glenn. I'm glad you said that. There's lots of things that can be on here that I didn't think about, and the article was not all inclusive. So if you can still think of anything else, I did list them. You should be able to see them somewhere off to the right side. And some of these qualities that women find attractive in a man. Let me know how you think about them. I certainly, I think they're fine. I think they're sensible qualities. Um, when she's thinking about, and men do the same thing. They're attracted to certain things with women they would go out with, and maybe women are attracted to certain traits that they would, in a guy that they would go out with. But when they're thinking long term, they're thinking marriage, then I think you're looking at other skills, because the physical skills aren't going to be there in the man or the woman. Their strength, their attractiveness, their health, their mind. You live long enough, you might not even know who your own children are. Um, so um, that's something to think about. But these inner qualities that are shown through being altruistic and kind, I think compassion was probably kind of touched on, even though it wasn't mentioned there per se. Being compassionate and being encouraging, being supportive, those are qualities that you want to have as a guy, because women will find those very, very attractive. And parabiology says women also love well muscled men who are fit. Um, they do. I'm sure it gives the sense that he can, you protect her. I mean, if she's going out with Gilligan or going out with, Arnold Schwarzenegger, she might be more inclined to see what Arnold is like, one extreme to the other there. Most of us are somewhere in between. Um, it's just that attitude or cockiness that we talked about earlier that they find unappealing in a guy. Um, I just think of when I go to the gym. I don't see this as much as you used to. Back in the 80s and 90s, there was a lot more, muscle heads, gear heads, I guess. I don't know. Guys that are out there and are making lots of noise, and they're just, I don't know. There's a they just were really into the lifting part, and you could tell how vain they were. They were always looking in the mirror. And women that are there don't like that. But if a guy just kind of keeps his mouth shut and he's out there doing his thing, he's working out hard, in the gym, maybe he flashes a smile at her. Um, that's a confident thing because it's not so extreme. So they might like a guy being fit. They should also realize it takes a certain amount of time and effort for that guy to achieve and maintain his physical fitness. So it doesn't come without work. I mean, maybe it does if you're an athlete or something, but even they're always working on their strength and their conditioning. And so I think that is an attractive thing. However, if that's all he's got, then a woman is going to be looking somewhere else for somebody with more of these other skills. So, if you guys are so inclined, you can always go back and look at the start of this. We've been on for 50 minutes, which is not very long at all for me, but I have run through the material. Glenn Pendleton says, but it seems like Filipino women are not as particular about a man's physical shape as a lot of Western women are. Is that the case? Oh, that's good. Glenn, I agree with you. I don't think they're as particular. I think many of them are looking more at the uh, earnings potential, and not even so much that. It's just a perception of a better life for them, a more comfortable life. And I think honestly, a lot of the Filipinos have no idea what a man has, or if he told her what he has, she probably wouldn't even know how long that would last. It kind of depends where you are. If you have a house in California, or you live in a very expensive state, California, New York. I mean, yeah, it may sound like a ton of money, but it just doesn't last very long. And there's so many things, our taxes and this, that, and the other thing. And well, she'll have to realize that if he has money, it probably comes from having to work 5 days a week, maybe 6 days a week. And if you're working, you can't be at home with her. So, but I think as far as his physical shape goes, um, I think they are more tolerant if he's not in shape. Now, there is a difference between having the dad bod that was mentioned in this live stream and being completely out of shape. Um, but if there's a woman out there in the Philippines who is really tired of struggling and suffering and seeing her family struggle on one meal a day or something, the foreigner is going to look pretty darn good. The foreigner though just has to understand that even though he's marrying a woman from a poor country, he's got to take care of her as if she's from his country. At least that's what I always say. You know, she's not a bargain. Filipina is not a bargain. She is a treasure. And would I have been able to get married without marrying my Isa? Possibly not. I mean, I didn't get anywhere until I communicated with Filipinas and then married my wife. After only 54 days, I told her I'm here to get married. I'm not on this website to waste my time or yours. I'm looking for a wife. Haven't been able to find it anywhere else. I'll tell you anything you need to know, but I did say an awful lot, according to my wife, about what I was about. And so she had a pretty good idea. We started chatting. We started going steady almost right away. That's what she wanted. And then on day 18, I proposed to her. I said, I'll go over to your place, 9,800 miles away, and marry you if you will marry me. And she said that she would. So I made all the plans I had to make, went over there, we got married. 8 months later, she arrived here in Nebraska, in 2016. We got 6 years of marriage coming up here in roughly a week and a half. That's just really hard to believe. But let me find my comments here, Glenn. I appreciate your comments in parabiology. Physical shape, I think they are more forgiving and what is the word you use, Glenn? Not as particular. True. Um, Filipinas often have hard lives, parabiology says, are wise enough to want a man who will take care of them, rather than just a fling with a hot guy like American women would. Well, they're looking for marriage because they probably figure the only way they're going to be provided for is marriage, and maybe that's a cultural thing. I think it's a good thing. And I mean, if you're unhappy that you can't seem to find marriage-minded women in the West, you'll be very surprised and happily surprised that in the Philippines, the women there want to marry, and they want to marry a lot quicker than you're used to. Glenn says, I go to the gym almost every day myself, so I was thinking maybe I can find a Filipino with a similar interest in the gym or church and the Philippines. Glenn, are you in the Philippines, or are you in a state that has a lot of Filipinas in it? Yeah, seeing a Filipina in a gym would be a striking scene. That's for sure. Um, those little bodies and their dark skin, beautiful faces. you know, you just all the brain cells stop after catching the vision of a Filipina. I still don't see that many of them here in Nebraska, and I've never seen one at the gym. But the shorter ones always catch my eye because I like short women, and thankfully my wife is only 4'11", and I like that in her. I'm 6'1", used to be 6'2", but bad back will cause you to lose some height. American women think they live in a Disney movie where they will end up with hot-built princes. Well, they need to get over that because that isn't happening these days. And parabiology says Filipinos are more wise. They're looking for different qualities, better qualities. This is why I hate it when I see a Filipina, get used by hooking up with somebody that's not interested in marrying her because she could do better. She's a Filipina. Does she understand how marketable she is, how much in demand she is? She doesn't need to settle for anybody. I would, if I was in the Philippines, I would do like my wife did with me and say, I'll communicate with you only if you communicate with me only. Otherwise, adios. And I needed help. I needed help making up my mind, who to focus on because there were so many of them that I said, okay, let's do that. And probably 2 weeks later, I proposed to her and then flew down there. We got married. Glenn says, I know there's a lot of Filipinas that don't have the time or money to work out in the gym often. I wonder what those gyms cost in the Philippines. If we can manage to get out there in December, I'm interested in seeing if there's a gym out there. And my body feels like I could use a month off without picking up a weight at all. I don't know how I'll feel when I get there. And it's possible they don't have the type of gyms they have now where they've got, I don't really do any cardio, but where you got these bands and cables and free weights and machines, and if something you want to do is hurting you, you can try to find a different type of exercise that can simulate the same thing. But I'd be interested in finding out. And if I was able to go to the Philippines, I could tape a video from a gym. I'd like to know what type of gyms they have there. I can't imagine it'd be a lot of money, but in the Philippines, your first priority is going to be food, clothing, shelter, siblings. Probably not so much going to the gym. Glenn says yes, but it's almost by default that Filipinos see foreigners as rich guys, whether they really are or not. Yeah, it's a perception, Glenn. You're right about that. It's an assumption, and often it's not true at all. And well, I mean, she doesn't. I know this. She doesn't want to go from being poor in the Philippines to being poor in a Western country. Um, Parabiology says American women won't settle for less than tens and have priced themselves out of the market for 8 out of every 10 men. Well, I didn't think I was such a bad guy, but I don't know. I couldn't get anywhere. I mean, it's it's like when you lose subs on YouTube, you don't have any idea why they did that because nobody tells you unless they say, "Oh, that's a terrible video. I'm going to unsub you." Otherwise, you don't know. Was that a bot? Did you say something? Did they disagree with something? Did they? Who knows? Kind of like to know why people unsub you, and if women don't go out with you, you kind of like to know the truth, but you're never really sure if you know why they aren't interested in you. But as women get older, of course, that's a different topic, and they're going to have to become less picky, or they're going to be alone, almost reach a point of diminishing returns. It's very important, to strike when the iron is reasonably hot. Glenn says I had a Filipino mother introduce herself on Facebook to meet her beautiful 18-year-old daughter. And of course, the end goal was for me to also take care of her widowed mother too. Well, if you can swing it, why not? I'm all for marriage. I'm all for getting married quickly. Age gap marriage is, we've done videos on that topic. So if you've seen those, you know how I feel about that. I have one myself. And it can be a wonderful, wonderful thing. Whatever age, you have to have the same qualities, and you got to take care of her, and you got to love her and value her and be with her, encourage her, and be forgiving, and trust each other, invest yourself in that relationship. And I don't care if she's 18 or 50 myself. Parabiology says, for a bad back, seriously recommend an inversion table. I think I've been on one of those once. And cerebral stem cell enhancement pills. 2 years ago, I couldn't stand more than 30 seconds. Now I walk miles. I've got bad discs all up and down my spine. In fact, I've had trouble walking myself. Something I must have done in the gym to my neck or my shoulders or my upper back. I don't know, but I had to stop a few times, almost go down my knees just trying to walk because I was so sore. But I've just got a bad spine. I got a narrow spinal canal. It's all born that way. Had back surgery. I could have another one if I decided to, but I'm not in a hurry for another back surgery. I've had like 10 surgeries in my life. Just had my knee replaced. That seems to be going good though. But thanks for the advice, Para. Parabiology says, yeah, totally, Glenn. You don't just marry the Filipino, you marry your family also. And that is true. I mean, let's not bury our heads in the sand about that. She is marrying you with the thought that this is an opportunity for her to provide for her family. And she's likely thinking about her family before she's thinking about herself. Now, in all likelihood, she wants to be a good wife. That's, I think the whole family wants her to be a good wife, maybe for selfish reasons, but, nobody wants to get married and feel alienated from their spouse, and I've seen, of course, my own life and videos of other Philam couples, and we've known some Philam couples here. They seem happy. I think they're going to have the same obstacles, difficulties that everybody else does. And, but she still wants to be a good wife, but she's going to provide for her family. No ifs, ands, or buts about that. And she doesn't want you to. She wants to do that herself. Yeah, Glenn retired from the fire department so he could live there. And yeah, we might live there someday. Kind of all depends on the medical situation for me. Herniated disc. Yeah, I've had back surgery. We can't do any. There's a certain procedure called a hemilaminotomy. It's like a decompression, I guess, another way to say it. What they did, they opened up part of the spine, the bone, so they can get in there and do some things and then kind of close it back, but not all the way, I guess, in simple terms, so it has some breathing room. And we could do that again. However, there's these back epidurals, which are kind of painful when you get them, that we think works based on where my worst disc is now. So, if I needed to, I could do another surgery. I just don't really want to be on, I don't want to be not active for 3 weeks. But I guess after that, I can kind of could slowly get back um, into things. But that's not for the future, and I hope I don't have to have another back surgery. But yeah, those are no fun. Ramiro Perez, good evening. I unsubbed because you removed a testimonial I shared with you about why I had the Royals cap as my avatar a few months ago. I'm not trying to be argumentative, just saying. Um, I don't, well, I wouldn't remove anything unless I thought it was uncalled for. And if it wasn't uncalled for, I don't know why I would have made it go away. I don't like to block people. My wife might block somebody, but I don't like to block people. I'm not that way. I like to just reason with people. But yeah, I don't recall what you're saying there, Ramiro. I'm a big Royals fan. I know they're in first place in their division, and they're playing the Twins tonight. The game is over, so probably before I'll go to bed, I'll check to see if they won. I've been to Royals Stadium, I don't know, 5, 6 different trips, and been a Royals fan since probably 1972, for sure 1973. George Brett was my childhood hero, and once in a while I'll still have a dream to this day that he's pinch hitting or something, or making a comeback. So I'm a big Royals fan. Yeah, parabiology, maybe. I don't know. I don't remember. Uh, I mean, unless somebody makes some lewd comments, I usually just let it go because I'm not from the generation that just blocks people. I just, if they disagree, they disagree. I'm not going to run away from that. But maybe YouTube did that. I mean, there are times I can go a week and maybe get 2 comments total out of 740 videos. There are times in this channel, um, it just gets kind of it just stalls. You don't get subs, don't get comments, and I figure my target audience is all the single men in the world, and I'm not even sure who my competition, so to speak, is on YouTube, but supposedly you get to 1,000 subscribers and the algorithm helps you. Maybe it's been hurting me because of my Christian views on relationships and marriage and life. Maybe. I mean, I just don't know what to say about that. Yes, I am a cessationist. Um, and you believe the gifts of the Holy Spirit still operate today. I wouldn't personally remove a comment about that. I would remove a comment if someone said something uncalled for about my wife. About the worst thing I get is a comment about my wig, which it really isn't a wig. It's my real hair. Um, so yeah, I don't get a whole lot of negative troll comments. Yeah, uh, being a non-cessationist, I wouldn't delete a comment about that. Ramiro says I'm a Dodgers Rangers fan, but I love baseball. Can wear all team caps, but Yankees and Cardinals. Well, those Yankees, everybody loves to hate the Yankees because they have so much money. I have no idea how they're doing now, but I mean, Dodgers Dodgers had a huge payroll, right, last year, and I assume they won the World Series, right? I mean, I could be completely mistaken. And 3 or 4 years can go by like in 3 weeks to me. So sometimes I just have trouble remembering those things. But yeah, Royals fan. I'm not. I always stick with the same team all my life. Last time I was a pro football fan, it was the Green Bay Packers and the Chicago Bears. But you're talking about the Bart Starr, Bobby Douglas days, the Gale Sayers days. We're talking 70s. Um, so really haven't had a team since then. Not even the Chiefs for some reason. Yeah, Dodgers won last year. I'm not sure how they're doing this year. Not sure how the Yankees are. It's only what, late April, May 1st, I guess, in the Philippines. So plenty of time. Baseball is a very, very long season. In fact, baseball is probably a decent analogy for marriage and life because it's a long season. You're going to have hot streaks. You're going to have cold streaks. You're going to have slumps, and you're going to wonder how am I going to bust out of this slump. And you just have to try to stay as as mentally and emotionally even keeled as you can, not get too high, not get too low, or baseball like marriage can wear you out. If you think of every day as must being the seventh game of the World Series, well, you'll go crazy that way because the best thing to do is just try to relax and be the best husband you can. But you're always going to have disagreements in your marriage. So um, that's going to be it for tonight. Again, those qualities are listed there. Should be. I don't see them here, but then this thing didn't start up like it usually does. But I listed the qualities in the link that I provided there also. lvbts.com is the website for all things Love Beyond the Sea. Should YouTube just decide to censor me someday for some of the things I've said, which I know are very countercultural. But I just think you have to say what you mean what you say, and if there's opposition to it, then there's opposition to it. And sometimes that happens. Ramiro Perez, good night. Thank you for joining in here late in this late live stream. Um, Parabiology and Glenn Pendleton, good to see you here. And then Rodney Full Circle was here earlier this evening. So it's Friday, and I hope you guys have a really good weekend. The weather's getting better. If you like to get outdoors, maybe this is the time to do it. So until next week, look for an upload, I believe, on Monday. This is Bob from Love Beyond the Sea.